Welcome to the 31st Jackie's Proof Animals Have Souls and Psychic show, produced by Passionate World Talk Radio, a subsidiary of Global Media Network. For new listeners, my website is jackiejoneshunt.com. Jack with an IE, joneshunt.com. I'm a historian of spirituality, lecturer, decades-long vegetarian for compassionate reasons, and psychical researcher who's had many personal mediumistic and psychic experiences myself, apart from those that I have observed. I also read the tarot and angel cards and angel dice, and my books include Moses and Jesus the Shamans and my Proof Animals Have Souls series, namely Proof Animals Have Souls and 500 plus celebrities go vegetarian. Briefly, Moses and Jesus the Shamans, which is mediums, provides a wealth of information on mediumship, including throughout the ages and globe, and reveals the politically orientated biblical mistranslations by the early church councils that condemned mediumship. And yet, the irony is, it was an ancient tradition to consult seers, prophets, dream interpreters, oracles, and biblical judges. There's a book in the Bible called The Judges. And they went to them to learn spiritual wisdom and predictive guidance, and yet the early church, for political reasons, tried to condemn mediumship when it was normal practice to visit mediums. And tragically, these earlier biblical mistranslations by the early church were used by later evil church councils to torture, burn and drown thousands of innocents in the 16th and 17th century, leaving people even today suspicious or fearful of the spiritual gift of mediumship. Now today our guest is Rachel Neate. She is the president of the Oldham Spiritualist Church, which is near Manchester in the UK. And today, she's a medium and president, as I say. I would like to call the show Sophie's Show. So welcome, Rachel. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to speak with you again. I'm sorry to hear that tragically Sophie, your beloved dog, has recently passed to the spirit realm of existence, the non-physical realm of existence.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure it must be devastating for you. Please tell listeners, if you could please tell listeners and share with listeners about Sophie's passing, and you mentioned she immediately returned. I'd be really grateful to hear about that, and I'm sure the listeners would be very interested too.
Yeah, that's right, Jackie. It has been very difficult time because she was like a part of my family, and she had such a beautiful personality. She was a Chihuahua, Sophie. And the morning of her taking Paula, I woke up that morning and my spirit guides showed me Sophie with wings. And I wasn't understanding why I was being shown that, because there was absolutely nothing wrong with her at that point. So later that day, she did take a little bit of a turn for a worse and started beginning with a cough. And then I took her to the vets, and they just said that she had the throat infection. But I was pretty certain myself that it was something else, and it was to do with her heart. We brought her back home, and she was on some steroids that wasn't actually working. So we took her back to the late night vet, and they kept her in overnight. Then the lady rang me the next morning saying that she'd been quite stable through the night and only needed a little bit of oxygen. So we thought we were bringing her back home. But then half an hour later, I got the dreaded call that I had to go and see her before she passed. So on the way to the vets to get there, because it was a 20-minute drive away, I seen lots and lots of angel numbers that were relevant to me, that I understood.
What do you mean about angel numbers?
So angels present numbers to me on car registration plates, which is like license plates, and they show the three synchronicities of numbers like 888, 333, 555. and me and my daughter were sat in the car, and we saw endless amounts of cars driving towards us with these kind of numbers on. And I knew that I was being supported by the angels so much, because I do work very, very closely with angels. So as we approached the industrial estate where the vet is located,
Yes.
Spirit gave me a song, and they often do this with my work, but they gave me the song In the Arms of an Angel, and stopped it right there. So I didn't understand at that point until I'd gone inside the vets.
Yes.
And when we got inside the vets, the lady said, "Take a seat, we'll get somebody to see you in a minute." And at that point, I was sat in the waiting room, and an angel just formed in front of me. And this angel was at least 12 foot high. And all of a sudden, Sophie come running towards me in spirit. But I didn't realise she died at that point, because they'd not said that, and she hadn't. Then they come and called me and said, "Quickly, come through." And when we went through into the room, Sophie was in the arms of that young lady, and she just died in her arms, which then explained to me why they gave me the song In the Arms of an Angel, because the lady was a light worker for the animal kingdom. And she was the lady who obviously worked for the vet. She was very upset that Sophie had passed, even though she didn't know her.
Yes.
And I knew then why they were giving me that information. So they brought Sophie to me immediately, as soon as she transitioned, and they brought her to me immediately in the waiting room. And I just thought that was just so beautiful, and I was so blessed to have saw that.
Yes. So can you describe the angel that you saw in the waiting room?
Yeah, the angel that I saw in the waiting room, sometimes you don't always know which angel it is. And I know it was a male angel, and it was a divine masculine energy. And he was so tall, built up with like strength, but he had like wavy kind of like hair, because they look so they're so well presented, and they have structured like bone structure look on the face, or you know how they draw up and how they present themselves. And he just looked so strong and so masculine. And he was stood there, and he had, I want to say, like a white sort of gown, but with blue attached to it, gold, and it was just so beautiful, really beautiful. In fact, afterwards, I bought myself an ornament, which is of an angel, a dog in its arms, because it represents what I saw that morning.
Well, it's amazing that you even found an ornament like that, because I would probably spend weeks looking for an ornament with an angel holding a dog.
Yeah, I've got
so even that in itself is more than a coincidence. And then they also say that coincidences aren't coincidences, they're all meant to be.
No, exactly, everything's meant to be for a reason.
Did your daughter see the angel, or anybody else in the room see the angel?
No, my daughter didn't see the angel, but I told her in the car on the way that I'd heard that song, and then she was there to witness. Holding Sophie, and I said straight away to my daughter, I said that's why I got the song, because she died in the arms of an angel, which was a light worker for the animal kingdom. So that for me was such a comfort, knowing that another person was able to hold her while she passed away, because I wasn't there to do it for her.
Oh, so was she a veterinary nurse or a veterinary assistant?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. She worked there. She was only a young girl, but she was very empathic, and she literally couldn't say enough how sorry she was that Sophie had passed. But I reassured her that I was glad that she was with her, and that she was able to look after her for me whilst I wasn't there, to be with her while she actually transitioned. But
I was going to say, would you say that Sophie is with you very often now, and do you see her or sense her or touch her?
Oh yeah, yeah. She she sleeps in my bed with me when she was on the earth plane, and even now in spirit, she sleeps in the bed with me. And she's only been passed away for 2 weeks. and she normally snores when she was still here on the earth. She would snore and grunt and make funny noises in her sleep. And a couple of nights ago, I woke up to the snoring and the grunting, and she was behind me.
Oh, how lovely. So she's still there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure that's a great comfort to you, and it would be a great comfort to other people who've lost their pets or any animals that they are devoted to as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Before the show, you mentioned that you'd been prepared even up to 2 years before by spirits, or was it by angels, that they were trying to let you know that Sophie was coming to the last phase of her life. Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, of course, Jackie. So about 2 years ago, Sophie took Paulette with an infection in her womb, and she had to go to the same vets, actually, she's just been, have an operation. And there was a few points where she got real well, and she nearly died. And she got through 2 separate occasions where she nearly passed away. And my uncle in the spirit, who I never actually met, he's just my dad's uncle, so he's my great uncle. He works with me quite closely, and he came to me when she was getting over the second point of nearly passing away, and he said to me, "This is us helping, and we're keeping her here for you." He said, "Because I know that right now we can't let her go, and you need her." He said, "But the next time she takes Paula, we've got to take her," and that was 2 years ago. And the next time she got poorly was obviously two weeks ago, and passed away.
And before she went, in recent times, did you have any inkling that she was going to go soon?
Well, just that morning that I woke up on the day that she took Paula, when I woke up, there was a vision that was placed in my mind's eye, and it was of Sophie with wings, and I didn't understand why I was given that until obviously the next day when she passed.
Mm-hmm. And she spent the night at the vets, did she?
She did, and I'm glad she did, really, because she was given oxygen in the night that she needed, and she was kept very comfortable, and there was an absolutely amazing vet that I can't thank enough. They really looked after her, and I've actually had her cremated and paid for a little cremation for her, and she stays in my bedroom with me where she always was.
Oh, that's so sweet. When my Sue passed away, she was 16, but about 9 months before, she had a spleen operation, and the vet didn't think she'd make it. He even phoned me during the operation, and I think it was to say, "Look, should we let her go during the op?" And, my words were, bring her through it. And I said, "And I'll collect her as soon as she's ready to go out." And he said, "Oh, no, it's a big operation. She'll need to spend the night here." And I said, "Well, is there anybody there in the night?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Well, surely you do your stuff now with the operation, and I'll do my stuff when I collect her." And he said, "Oh, I've never done that before. I've usually kept them." And I said, "But keeping them when nobody's there, it's dangerous."
It's worse.
So when I collected her and he passed her to me, she felt like a dead body because she was so cold, because anaesthetic really drops the temperature, I've realised. She was frozen. And I quickly got her home, and she was walking into the fireplace from her dog bed, half asleep, trying to tell me she's cold. So we got the heating on, and we got a coat on her and a blanket over, and had her on the end of the bed all night. And do you know, in a spiritualist church, sometime later, a medium said, "Your dog came through because of your love." And I know what she was meaning. It was my love that brought her home and kept her overnight and got her warm again. Whereas I think if she'd have stayed in the vets, I think she would have passed. So I think it's a good question to always ask, is there anybody there during the night? Because if there isn't, then the poor dogs pets are left on their own. And then I saw this pink haze by our fireside after Sue passed 9 months later, and it was right by her dog bed. It was a lovely pink haze that I kept seeing. I knew it was so that she was still with us.
Yeah, that'll be her energy.
Yes, and then there was another time I was painting in the back garden, painting our garden office. It's made of wood, so you sort of paint it once a year with bitumen or like a fence panel paint. And I must have been in a meditative condition, because every time I went in the kitchen for a cup of tea or a glass of water or to wash my hands because I was covered in paint, I kept seeing the little dog on the floor. And I asked a medium that I knew, I said, do you think it was Jack or do you think it was Sue? And she said, I think it was Sue.
So lovely.
So I think it put me in a meditative state, and that's why I started to see her. And she was pottering around the kitchen. Anyway, we need to draw today's show to a close, and thank you very much. And I'll put all your details in the blog. And thank you very much. You. And I will call this one Sophie's show. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jackie.
Bye.